Justices of the Constitutional Court earlier this year upheld the anti-homosexuality law on grounds that it upholds the country's social cultural norms, values, and that it protects children and vulnerable individuals in society, among other grounds. Following the decision, Wudama North Member of Parliament Fox Odoi, together with other 21 activists, have petitioned the Supreme Court, challenging the Constitutional Court decision.
That the Anti Homosexuality Act imposes a charge on the Consolidated Fund. There's a prohibition from a private member introducing a bill that has the effect of imposing a charge on the Consolidated Fund or any other public fund of Uganda. Number two, we argue that there was no consultation, public consultation and public participation during the enactment of the Anti-Homosexuality Act. Number three, we argue the conduct of the presiding officer falls below the standards expected at law. Number four, we argue that the Anti-Homosexuality Act has the effect of altering substantially decisions of court, past decisions of court in contravention of the Constitution. And we cite Joe Lokonyango, Kasha, and a number of other cases. Number five, we argue the law is discriminatory. There are sections of the law that are discriminatory. We also argue that there are sections of the law that offend the right to access to health. We argue there are sections of the law that offend the right to freedom of association. We argue there are sections of the law that offend the right to employment, the right to housing. In summary, those are our grounds. Are there any others, Doctor?
I think generally those are the grounds that we have.
The case was filed against the Attorney General, Pastor Martin Sempa, Engineer Stephen Langa, and Family Life Network Limited. The parents want Supreme Court to nullify the Constitutional Court decision on grounds that the law violates the rights of LGBTQ community.
Go without challenging this law before the Supreme Court, because if you look at the decision the court made, it leaves the law entirely as almost it was. Yeah, we want a few grounds, yes, but we can't leave it as it is. Most importantly, because this will be unconstitutional. That's the argument we made for the Constitutional Court. It's the argument we are still making for the Supreme Court, that you cannot pass a law just because you don't like a particular group of people, just because you are basing it on, on hate. You have to pass laws that protect every single person. So every group, regardless of who they are entitled to protection under the Constitution. That's what we're asking the Constitutional Court to do, just like other courts have done before. The Supreme Court to do just like other courts have done before in Africa. It's not just something that's beyond Africa. Just recently, the Namibian Supreme Court also made a decision that nullified a similar law like we have in Uganda on the grounds that this is discriminatory, on the grounds that this basically violates the basic rights of human beings. Namibia is in Africa. It's not outside of Africa. So as Africans, we also need our rights protected. Every single person needs to be protected. That's our main argument that we are making. Also, the Speaker or the Constitutional Court, or rather or the Parliament, can't do everything they want to do just because they are the lawmaking body. Lawmaking powers are given to them, but they are subject to the Constitution. So the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, not Parliament. So if they go against the Constitution, then they can be challenged. So it's not a problem to challenge a law before the court, because the law goes against the tenets of the Constitution. That's what is meant by supremacy of the Constitution. That's the reason why we are.
Access to homes, even though that was removed, but we still have landlords evicting people who are perceived or who are known to be LGBTQ persons. So the law has had a huge impact on the community at this point.
Among those who filed the petition include academicians from Makerere University and civil society organizations. On the other hand, the Supreme Court has partly dismissed an application filed by Legal Brain Trust seeking to amend its lawsuit against businessman Asani Basajjabalaba and his companies. In the application, Legal Brain Trust was seeking court to amend its appeal to substitute the deceased, the late former governor of Bank of Uganda, Emmanuel Tumusiime Mutebire, with the administrators of his estates, and to also introduce new arguments regarding liabilities of each of the respondents in this case.
It has been the law until today that the death of a party to an appeal does not end the appeal in respect of that party. That law has been upturned today, specifically in respect of the governor who had been sued in personal capacity for actions that were not consistent with his oath, with the law governing his office, or with the instructions of his client, who is the government of Uganda or the taxpayers of Uganda, as represented by the government of the day as established, namely the president. So, without waiting to hear exactly what we wanted to say, the court has told us you will not argue anything regarding the governor. The case against him is now closed. Yet the same case has permitted the case to continue against Kazinda, against Bob Kasango. You know, so that is up to their integrity to manage. But also it is of great concern because the two other individuals who is sued for abusing public office are also near death. Honestly. Saida Bumba, have you ever seen her in public? How about Chidu Makubia? So they're also not well, you know? So literally, we don't know the full implications. It's a new law. It's a whole new law to forgive and to forgive alleged wrongdoers who die and to protect their estates from being held accountable, as previously thought. The second, matter was to allow I&M Bank to take over the case in respect of Orient Bank, which we began with nearly 14 years ago. And
Asani Basajjabalaba is accused of using government officials, banks, and the central bank to steal over 142 billion shillings from public funds, which money was awarded to him as compensation after losing the managing of Kampala Markets contract. After dismissing the application, Supreme Court justices gave respondents more time to file their submissions, and court will resume formation.
The court has also rejected our proposal to receive a new notice of cross appeal, which is a summary of grievances, but in a more improved term, so that we save time explaining what exactly is of great importance. But they've also limited us in addressing them orally, because we thought this is a matter that needed to be ventilated to some degree orally, not just for the judges to get it right, but because of what it represents. That taxpayers who are represented, for instance, by the taxpayers who came to court or the journalists, needed to hear, the merits of the case being debated. Justice must be transparent and conducted transparently, and written submissions sort of diminish that value of justice. So if even in the Supreme Court we are to continue by written submissions, it raises concerns around quality and of the product. But a win-win was bargained for, and they told us that if at all what we have to say, what we desire to say orally is so important, they've given us additional time and additional space to say it in writing. Yeah. Well, it's probably not material to you, but it's a week. Yeah? It's a week. Yeah, within a week we reply. Others, read it and also can address court what we have said. And within 3 weeks that is done, and then the court will sit to discuss what we have filed, and work out what they perceive is the right justice. Yeah.
To exclude the governor.
Effect on our case, it changes the law for all Ugandans. Article 164 says it's about individual accountability. Accountability is individual. For employees, the Constitution meant employees. Public office, every public office is an employee. Yeah, so a constitutional provision has been amended, plain and simple. And that's a grievance that Ugandans should share.
In the Constitutional Court decision, the court partly ruled in the favor of Legal Brain Trust, declaring that the contracts were illegally awarded to Asani Basajja Balaba, thus ordering him to refund the money. Both Basajja Balaba and Legal Brain Trust appealed the decision.
Hello?